From the most influential artist of the 21st century to a figure banned from entire countries and erased by every brand he helped build, Kanye West's 2025 spiral into open Nazi worship and hate speech cost him $2 billion in 48 hours. Let that sink in for a moment. $2 billion, gone. And it didn't stop at money, did it? Lawsuits piled up, visa bans slammed shut doors, and a global media pile-on made his infamous 2009 VMA interruption look like a kindergarten timeout. How does a man who once soundtracked graduations and weddings become too toxic for even the internet? It's a question that baffles many. Stick around because the answer starts 2 decades ago in a tiny Chicago studio with a young producer who just wanted to rap. Kanye West was never ever supposed to be the face of hip-hop. Back in 1998, he was just the kid with the backpack and that distinctive squeaky voice, lugging a crate of beats through New York's Rockefeller hallway, practically begging anyone to listen. He wasn't the typical gangster rapper, and frankly, some found his earnestness a bit much. But then Jay-Z heard This Can't Be Life, gave him a nod of approval, and by 2001, Kanye's signature chipmunk soul loops were undeniably the hottest sound in rap music. He was a hitmaker behind the boards, crafting tracks for legends like Nas and Beyonce. But here's the thing, he wanted the mic, not just the MPC. Label heads laughed him off. Producers don't become stars, they said. So what did Kanye do? He pressed up his own mixtapes, borrowed money for videos, and in February 2004, he dropped the College Dropout. It wasn't just a debut, it was a defiant statement. The album debuted at number 2, went triple platinum, and suddenly every suburban kid, alongside every hip-hop head, knew the words to Jesus Walks. He also founded his own record label, G.O.O.D Music, that same year, proving he wasn't waiting for anyone's permission. A year later, late registration landed with a live orchestra, showcasing an even grander vision. Gold Digger owned every barbecue and radio station, and Kanye collected 3 Grammys in one night. He capped it all by looking into a live Katrina benefit camera, and with a chilling directness declared, "George Bush doesn't care about black people." The clip exploded, sparking outrage and applause in equal measure, and his record sales, they climbed even higher. Controversy wasn't kryptonite for Kanye yet, it was pure jet fuel. By 2007, the guy who once couldn't even get a verse on a Beanie Sigel single was outselling 50 Cent in a heavyweight chart showdown. Graduation moved just under 1 million first-week copies, while 50 Cent's Curtis stalled at half that. It was a seismic shift in hip-hop, proving that conscious lyrics and stadium-sized anthems could dominate. Kanye's secret weapon? Those sweeping stadium synths built around a Daft Punk sample that somehow made electronic music safe for rap radio. But just a year later, his world cracked wide open. His beloved mother and manager, Donda West, died of complications from cosmetic surgery. Grief hollowed him out. Auto-tune, a tool often derided, became the only voice he trusted to express his raw pain. The result was 808s and Heartbreak, an album that crooned instead of rapped, bled instead of boasted. Critics initially scoffed, unsure what to make of this vulnerable melodic turn. Yet a generation of kids in hoodies and high-fashion kids in Selena alike adopted it. You can draw a straight line from those sparse drums and melancholic melodies directly to Drake, Post Malone, and half of today's melodic hip-hop. This album didn't just change Kanye's sound, it reshaped the genre. Then in 2010, he retreated. He rented a house in Hawaii, flew in the best musicians on earth, and meticulously stitched together My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, an album reviewers now routinely call the greatest of the 21st century. It was a maximalist masterpiece, a defiant return to form, earning him 3 more Grammys. His Grammy tally? 21 and counting. Adidas, recognizing his undeniable cultural pull, gave him a blank check. Vogue put him on the cover. The very same industry that once slammed doors in his face was now paying him astronomical sums to redesign them. He wasn't just a musician, he was a global cultural force, venturing into fashion with Yeezy, cementing his status as a true visionary. The 2009 VMAs gave America its first group viewing of the Unraveling. Taylor Swift accepts Best Female Video, the camera cuts, Kanye, fueled by a cocktail of ambition and perhaps too much Hennessy, grabs the mic, in 5 now infamous words, Imma let you finish, become a pop culture tattoo. The backlash was instant, fierce, and widespread, but somehow, musically, he remained bulletproof. Watch The Throne, his collaborative album with Jay-Z, dropped in 2011 and went #1 in 23 countries, producing hits like Otis and Niggas in Paris. It seemed he could survive anything. But then things started getting stranger. He began wearing Margiela masks on tour, delivering increasingly erratic rants about corporations and the media during his shows, and tweeting pronouncements like, "I'm this generation's Disney." The media, often amused, just giggled, dismissing it as Kanye being Kanye. Behind the scenes, however, friends whispered of a man barely sleeping, recording 3 albums at once, obsessing over minute details like the symmetry of apartment light fixtures. By 2016, the eccentricity took a darker turn. He was publicly begging Mark Zuckerberg for a $1 billion investment on Twitter, then abruptly canceling tour dates after a saccharine, tearful meltdown in Sacramento. The headlines shifted from merely eccentric to genuinely concerning. Yet every single time the public seemed ready to write him off, he'd return with product that moved culture. The Life of Pablo debuted on Tidal, a platform few understood, and was famously updated like software, ultimately going platinum exclusively on a service nobody else could sell. It was a testament to his unique power, or perhaps his sheer audacity. 2022 is when the guardrails finally snapped irrevocably. Yeah, as he now preferred to be called, unleashed a torrent of hateful rhetoric. He tweeted he was going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people, posted grotesque images of swastikas merged with Stars of David, and appeared on InfoWars, infamously praising Hitler. It wasn't just words, it was a deliberate, shocking embrace of anti-Semitism and Nazism that sent shockwaves globally. In 2023, he released Vultures, a track whose hook brazenly bragged about sleeping with a Jewish woman immediately after a line referencing the Holocaust. Radio stations, facing immense public pressure, simply refused to playlist it. Then came the lawsuits. An ex-assistant filed claims of harassment and unwanted texts, and French authorities launched an investigation into a disturbing video that showed simulated Nazi rallies filmed inside Paris Invalides. The international repercussions were equally severe. Australia canceled his visa, labeling him a race hate risk, a rare and significant move typically reserved for right-wing extremists, not platinum-selling artists. The financial carnage was brutal, clinical, and swift. Adidas's Yeezy division, once a gold mine, had accounted for up to 7% of the company's total revenue. Without it, shares slid a staggering 15% in a single quarter. His empire, built on creative audacity, lay in ashes, consumed by the very flames of controversy he had so often stoked. Strip away the billions, the controversies, the awards, and what's left is a man whose earliest memories are of a college English professor mom, Donda West, driving him through Chicago's South Side, rapping verses to keep him focused in the back seat. She was his anchor, his biggest supporter, and his most honest critic. Donda's tragic death in 2007 didn't just break his heart, it removed the last person who could truly tell him no, the one voice he always respected. Friends describe unsettling nights where he screens documentaries about fascist architecture on loop, pacing barefoot in an empty warehouse, convinced fashion houses mock him, consumed by paranoia and grandiosity. Kim Kardashian, his wife and mother of his children, filed for divorce in 2021, and in leaked texts, he begged for one more chance, only to then publicly call her and her new partner, Pete Davidson, dopeheads on Instagram. By 2024, his only public appearances were via grainy phone streams, shouting incoherently at diners about Jewish record labels, or walking barefoot and disoriented through Tokyo airport with a pillow under one arm. The bravado that once fueled hits like Power now sounds like a hollow, haunted echo chamber. Therapists and mental health professionals, without ever examining him, openly speculate about untreated bipolar cycles. Fans, loyal but weary, counter that mental illness explains pain, but it doesn't excuse hate. Even if tomorrow he were to drop a 12-track masterpiece, radio programmers would face immense activist pressure to keep him off airwaves. Labels would demand indemnity clauses so punitive that only the most risk-hungry indie would even consider touching him. And then there's the age factor. Hip-hop has always been a young sport, a genre constantly reinventing itself, and at 48, he's closer to legacy tours than cutting-edge cultural relevance. Still, stranger reversals have happened in the fickle world of celebrity. If he were to genuinely seek extensive treatment, issue a thorough, unequivocal apology, and stay quiet long enough for news cycles to refresh and wounds to begin healing, a niche audience might just listen. The real question is whether Kanye, the man who once famously rapped, "I'm never looking back," can stomach starting over. Kanye's tragedy is bigger than just one man. It's a masterclass in how modern fame operates as a leveraged asset. Genius amplifies reach undeniably, but outrage? Outrage multiplies infinitely faster. Social platforms, in their relentless pursuit of engagement, reward hot takes with algorithmic oxygen. The same dopamine loop that pushes a catchy hook can just as easily push a hateful slogan. Once you monetize attention, once every click translates to $1, the incentive is to keep eyes glued, and morals become distressingly negotiable. Add to that untreated mental strain and a circle of advisors and friends too afraid to say no, and what you get is a terrifying feedback loop that turns eccentricity into outright extremism. The takeaway for the rest of us is perhaps boring, but utterly crucial. Guardrails matter. Editors matter. Friends willing to block your tweet at 3 a.m. matter. Without them, unchecked talent curdles into toxicity, and the same world that once crowned you will, without hesitation, cancel you, then forget you, all inside a single fiscal quarter. Kanye West once famously told us he was a god, and for a dazzling, groundbreaking decade, we humored the claim because the music, the sheer artistic output, undeniably backed the myth. Then the same mouth that gave us the profound Jesus walks turned around and praised Hitler, and the wings of Icarus, meticulously crafted from ego and ambition, melted mid-flight. His catalog still pulses with undeniable genius. Every unexpected chord change on Runaway, every raw, joke-cracked confession on Family Business. But the man who made it can't walk into a restaurant without sparking a headline, without becoming a lightning rod for controversy. That truly is the tragedy. The art lives on, immortal, while the artist himself self-evicts from the very world he helped soundtrack. Maybe one day we'll get a grizzled comeback special, a humbled return, or maybe, just maybe, history will simply file him under cautionary footnotes, a stark reminder of unfulfilled potential. Either way, the lesson echoes louder than any 808. Talent can open every door imaginable, but character? Character ultimately decides whether you get to stay in the building. If you thought this was shocking, wait until you see what happens when money, addiction, and fame collide in one man's life. Next up, the Charlie Sheen story, Hollywood's wildest meltdown. Remember, fame hides everything until it doesn't.